Wheel of Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing okay. It's been a bit of a crazy week.
It sure has. All sorts of stuff has been happening this week. But anyway, before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you've read the entire series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today, we're going to be discussing chapters 28 and 29 of The Great Hunt, where we check in with Mat and Perrin for a surprising meeting, and then it's a parade of no thank you from Whitecloaks and Seanchan.
Good times.
Chapter 28 is called A New Thread in the Pattern, and the icon is the wolf.
Here's a quick summary to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Perrin watched the mountains of Kinslayer's dagger uncomfortably as he rode. The wolves told him that there were people in the mountains, and Perrin wonders if they're Fane's dark friends. Mat appears in good spirits, but is looking paler and paler as each day passes, and Varen checks on him a couple times a day. She's preoccupied, though, and Perrin is sure she's thinking about Rand. Ingtar falls back and asks Perrin to tell him again what the wolves said, in case he missed something. Perrin recounts the story for the 10th time. Someone attacked the Dark Friends in the night and killed Trollocs. The wolves called him Shadow Killer. They wouldn't go close enough to see clearly, but they're not afraid of this Shadow Killer. Awe is more like it. They say that Fane and the Trollocs are now following the Shadow Killer. Before Ingtar can question him further, Uno announces that there is an ailment in the rocks who looks like he wants to talk. Some of the Shanarians are a little quick on the draw, but Ingtar gives the order to hold so they can find out why this ailment is so far from the waist. Unconcerned with the soldiers bearing down on him, the ailment introduces himself as Urian of the Two Spires Sept, a red shield. Mat mutters to Perrin that Urian looks just like Rand. Urian greets Varen as a wise one, and when she questions it, he explains that she has the look of a woman who has traveled to Rudian? Sure, okay. And returned to become a wise one. The years do not touch them the same way as they touch others. Varen gets all kinds of excited by the implications, but before she can question Urian, Ingtar breaks in and asks if he's seen any Trollocs. Now it's Urian's turn to be excited because one of the signs of the Ale prophecies is that when the Trollocs come out of the blight again, the Ale will leave the threefold land and take back their place of old. The Shanarians don't love this prophecy. He tells Ingtar that he has not seen any Trollocs, and Ingtar loses interest. Varen is like, that's great and all. Now back to this Rudian thing. Tell me everything. Urian says that he can't say, and Varen gets up in his business like, I'm Aes Sedai. Start talking. The man who had been ready to face 20 soldiers now looked as if he wished for an escape from this one plump woman with graying hair. Urian tells her what is generally known, but can't say more. Then he shocks everybody by asking Varen if she's going to slay him now. Another old Ale prophecy says that if they fail the Aes Sedai again, they will be slain. Varen murmurs about how she would love to take Urian away and study him, and after that disturbing comment, tells him to calm down, she won't hurt him. Urian is understandably skeptical, but carries on. Varen asks why he approached them, and Urian explains that he's searching for he who comes with the dawn, and that there will be signs and portents to announce his coming. He recognized Varen's ageless face and figured that she would have news of big events. Urian tells her that he will be from the west, but be of Ale blood, and that he will go to Rudian and lead them out of the threefold land. Urian draws the ancient symbol of Aes Sedai in the dirt with his spear point and tells them that he who comes with the dawn will conquer under that sign. Varen scrapes away the symbol with her foot and tells Urian that she can't help him. Urian disappears back into the rocks, and Ingtar tells the men that they have to hurry to make up the lost time. Mat asks Perrin if he thinks Urian was talking about Rand, and Perrin doesn't know, saying that everything has been crazy since they got mixed up with Aes Sedai. Softly, as if to herself, Varen spoke, still staring at the ground. It must be a part, and yet how? Does the Wheel of Time weave threads into the pattern of which we know nothing, or does the Dark One touch the pattern again? Varen looked up at the soldiers. Hurry, she commanded with more snap than Ingtar and Uno combined. We must hurry.
Yay! A Perrin chapter. Perrin's point of view does a nice job of concisely catching us up on what's been happening with the others since Rand disappeared. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I like Perrin's straightforward and logical assessment of things. He's puzzled out that Varen must know about Rand being able to channel, but he also realizes that that's not the important issue being addressed right here and now.
So Mat's not doing well.
No, he's not.
Just in case we forgot that he's dying without the dagger, Jordan lets us know that he looks like hell, and Varen is examining him 2 or 3 times a day. Perrin even thinks that she tried healing, but it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
This isn't just a romp after the horn. They have to get the dagger back or Mat's toast.
Mm-hmm.
Ingtar is starting to lose it.
Right?
His desperation for the horn keeps growing. He asks Perrin about what the wolves told him, and the book says, "I've told you 10 times, Perrin mutters. Tell me again. Anything I may have missed. Anything that will help me find the horn." Ingtar drew a deep breath and let it out slowly. "I must find the horn of Valere, Perrin. Tell me again." He is singular focused, and it's getting increasingly frantic.
Yeah, he is. It's interesting.
Yeah, poor guy. He's not doing well.
No. And we've talked about it a little bit too, but it's just his decision is really starting to chafe on him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, he feels like he has to find the horn because it's his only hope of salvation, really.
Right, at this point.
Yeah. It's like he figures if he can find the horn and get it back to where it belongs, then he can make up for what he's done.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
The wolves have a new nickname for Rand, Shadow Killer. I love how Perrin describes the wolves' feeling about Rand as they're not afraid of Shadow Killer. It's more like awe.
Yeah, super cool.
Because that scene a few chapters back where Rand was fighting with a Trolloc was so epic that even the wolves respect it.
Totally
it's
badass.
Just, like Shadow Killer, awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, go for it.
And we get our first ale encounter.
Yeah.
I love that Uno is smart enough and respectful enough to admit that Urian wanted to be seen or he never would have spotted him.
Yeah.
Like, the Borderland soldiers are elite, but the Ale are in a league of their own.
Yes, they are.
Quote, "Instantly, Massima's lance dropped to a crouch, and he dug his heels into his horse, leaping to a dead gallop in 3 strides. He was not the only one. 4 steel points hurtled toward the man on the ground. 'Hold!' Ingtar shouted. 'Hold!' I said. 'I'll have the ears of any man who doesn't stop where he stands.' Massima pulled in his horse viciously, sawing at the reins. The others also stopped in a cloud of dust not 10 paces from the man. Their lances still held steady on the man's chest. He raised a hand to wave away the dust as it drifted toward him. It was the first move he had made." That's a pretty badass introduction.
Yeah. The encounter with Urian is packed full of information that you really don't understand when you read the first time. Like, we get reference to Ale Steps, we get clans, one of the warrior societies, a hint that the wise ones can channel, and even a mention of a water pledge. Mm-hmm. Like, what I like about this is the rereadability factor, actually. It takes a couple books to get into the Waste, and if you reread the previous books as each new one came out, as many of us did, each of these things is like an onion that keeps getting peeled back. You understand more and more about what Urian is saying if you keep reading later books. This means Jordan had the whole world of the Ale almost completely built before he wrote this. It's just really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So much of what is set up here will get paid off in The Shadow Rising.
Yeah.
Almost all of it is explained when Rand goes to Ridian. I just remember being so fascinated by the Ale the first time through reading this. I wanted to know so much more about their culture, and we just got these little trickles of information for the first 3 books.
Yeah.
I was so relieved when we finally got to the Waste and finally got to dig into who these people are.
Right.
Because they're so cool.
They really are. Who do you think is more excited? Varen finding out about wise ones possibly being able to channel, or Urian realizing that the prophecies are coming true? I personally think Varen.
I think so too.
Yeah.
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 I love when Urian asks Varen if she's going to kill him, and she's like, "Wait, what?" He's so matter of fact about it. He's all, it is what it is. Okay, let's do it. And Varen can't help herself. She's like, I want to put you in a jar and study you.
Right?
That is not reassuring. That's not how you convince someone that you're not going to hurt them. Just, take a personal note for future reference. We hear about He Who Comes with a Dawn, and for those readers who haven't cottoned on that it's Rand yet, Jordan has Mat specifically say, wow, that sounds an awful lot like Rand. I wonder if that means anything. And Varen's like, nope, haven't seen him. There's no dragon reborn. I mean, He Who Comes with a Dawn here. Sorry.
Yeah, that was great. Because she didn't lie. They hadn't seen him.
True. And I mean, Varen can lie, so it doesn't really matter. Like, Varen has forsworn the oaths or whatever, so she's not bound by the oaths anymore. True. All part of her being a super spy, Black Aja mole thing.
Yeah, it's really well done the way she can finagle through all that.
It's a relief knowing how her story works out.
Yeah.
Because, he kept us guessing through the entire series. So now that we know that she's good, it's like, okay, everybody can calm down and just enjoy Varen instead of being tense. Like, what are your ulterior motives?
Yeah, it totally stressed me out when I went through.
Yeah, absolutely. But I loved Varen so much. Like, I loved every interaction that I was like, oh, God, please don't be bad. Please don't be bad.
Yeah.
But she's shady as hell.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely.
Oh, to know all the things Varen knows.
I love Varen.
Her musing on whether the pattern is weaving things or if it's the dark one just makes me want to have a point of view from her to see what she's really thinking.
Absolutely.
That wraps up chapter 28. But before we get to chapter 29, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru is brought to you by Aleman on the Rocks, a cocktail for the modern man. Whiskey is the star of this show, so grab a rocks glass in your finest 12-year. Add a dash of orange bitters and float some port on the top to add that black veil. Finally, grab an orange peel and light it on fire, because a badass culture deserves a badass garnish. Aleman on the Rocks. It'll sneak up on you.
Chapter 29 is called Seanchan, and the icon is the Seanchan helmet.
Jia from Bornhold rides into a burning village, lamenting the fact that he had to surrender half of his men to questioner control. He is shocked to see small children's bodies hanging from the makeshift gibbet on the green and grabs one of the passing Whitecloak soldiers. He demands to know if it was their work or if it was done by the Seanchan. The soldier says neither. The village prisoners said that the offenders wore Tarbiner cloaks, but they described two men that sound an awful lot like Whitecloaks Bornhold knows, who are now under questioner command. Bornhold orders the bodies cut down and the villagers to be told that there will be no more killing. Probably. But he thinks he has bigger things to worry about than dead villagers and overzealous questioners. He orders that a man be brought to him, someone easily intimidated, so that he can get to the bottom of what happened here. He had already learned that these invaders called themselves Seanchan and that they spoke of being forerunners for the return. No one knew where they came from, and people said that they rode monsters into battle as often as horses and fought with Aes Sedai at their sides. Childbire brings in a messenger from Jackham Carradine. He says that Bornhold is too close to Toman Head, and he is supposed to root out dark friends on Almond Plain. Bornhold thinks this is a stupid order. He has seen that the questioners are dressing the men under their command as Tarbiners or Damani in order to stir up trouble, and all they're doing is killing villagers and seeing dark friends where there are none. He is sick of this nonsense. He is going to round up as many of his men as he can, and ignoring orders, he is going to Toman Head, where the real dark friends are, to root out what these Seanchan are up to. Off the coast of Toman Head, Bail Doman is being chased down by a Seanchan ship. He tries to sail for the shallow waters, thinking that the large ship could not follow him. He'd heard a lot about these strangers coming in with monsters and Aes Sedai, conquering town after town. The Seanchan forced the people to re-swear the oaths they had forsaken, to obey the forerunners, await the return, and serve those who come home with their lives, without telling them what any of that meant. They took all of the women to be examined one by one, and some were taken to the ships, never to be seen again. Even older women, healers and guides mostly. The weird part was that once the people had been thoroughly cowed, the Seanchan would sail away. The only town they stayed at was Falme, where they seemed to set up shop. The sea on either side of Doman's ship fountains up with water and flames. Thinking of his hold full of fireworks and the damage those flames could do, he orders his men to bring Spray to a stop before the Seanchan think he's still trying to escape. The Seanchan ship comes up alongside Spray and sends a party over. Doman is shocked to see that they are led by a woman who introduces herself as Captain Egeanin. 2 other women come aboard, and Doman is confused by a silver leash running from a bracelet on one woman to a silver collar on the neck of the other. Doman tells Egeanin that he is a simple trader, and she notices him eyeing the women connected by the leash. She boasts about her domine and says that she could have broken Spray to splinters. Doman asks if the woman is an Aes Sedai, and Egeanin backhands him hard, saying that name is never spoken. There are only domine, leashed ones. Doman tries to backpedal, and Egeanin tells him that he will sail to Falme, where his ship will be searched, and if he checks out, then he will be allowed to swear the oaths to obey, wait, and serve. At Falme, Doman and his crew wait on the dock while Spray is thoroughly searched. In his short time with the Seanchan, he has discovered that they are weird and vicious, and that the rumors of monsters are true. He's trying to keep his head down and not cause trouble. Egeanin finishes her search carrying something small wrapped in silk. She orders Doman to go with her. As she and her soldiers lead him through the streets, Doman is surprised to see that the people still have daggers and swords on their belts. When he comments on it, Egeanin explains that these people have sworn the oaths and belong to them now. She stops a random man on the street and asks if he would ever consider using his sword against the Seanchan, and he vehemently insists that he will obey, wait, and serve. Doman realizes that with Domine and soldiers riding monsters, it's no wonder the people don't have the nerve to resist. Egeanin leads Doman to the largest manor house in order to be brought before the High Lord Turak. There is a bunch of formality and floor kissing that Doman neither understands nor appreciates. Egeanin presents High Lord Turak with the Quendalar disc Doman had on his ship. Turak questions Doman about it, and Doman lies, saying that he didn't know what it was, and he just likes to collect old things. Turak takes him to a room where he has a cabinet full of his collection of Quendalar items, including another disc just like the one Doman had. Doman tried to maneuver his way out of the situation and fails miserably. Turak tells him that he can't let him go because he hasn't found anyone worth talking to on this side of the ocean. But since Doman is a collector, perhaps he might be interesting. Doman is stuck trying to think fast and figure out how to lie his way out of Falme.
So many people to hate, so little time.
Right? Like, oh, the last chapter was so brilliant and beautiful and wonderful and just so much fun. And this chapter, I mean, it's not that it's poorly written. It just sucks.
Yeah.
These people are terrible.
I will say this about Jeffrey Bonehold, though. At least he has the decency to be sickened by what the questioners did to the small village. In case you weren't aware, a gibbet is not the same as a gallows. Gallows are where you execute people by hanging them from the neck. When you put a person in a gibbet, you simply put them in a cage that's designed to force them to stand upright and hoist that cage in the air. They die of dehydration or starvation while in the cage. But the purpose of the gibbet is not just to kill the person. It's to put their body on display for others to see what will be done to dissenters just like them. Mm-hmm. The fact that the questioners gibbeted children alongside their elders sends a clear message of the lack of empathy and how messed up they are. To underline this, the book says, even Byers stared at that in disbelief. And we already know how much of a sociopath he is.
Yeah.
And right when Joffrey shows a glimmer of humanity, he's right back to treating prisoners like they were less than human. I get that interrogation is an art and agree that the criteria that he gives Muad will bring someone that will talk. However, intimidating a person who has already been defeated just turns my stomach. I've always been a subscriber to the catch more flies with honey approach to people, then the beatings will continue until morale improves approach. But then again, I'm not a White Cloak.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about Joffrey Bernhard. I think he's supposed to be a good man in comparison to the rest of the White Cloaks. Or maybe it's that he once was a good man.
Maybe.
He is definitely set apart from the others as morally superior. But Bernhard is not a good man.
Yep.
The book says, quote, "Cut them down," Bernhard said wearily. "Cut them down and make sure the villagers know there will be no more killing. Unless some fool decides to be brave because his woman is watching and I have to make an example." He dismounted, eyeing the prisoners again, as Muad hurried off, calling for ladders and knives. He had more to think about than questioners' overzealousness. He wished he could stop thinking about questioners together. End quote. So 2 things here. 1, there will be no more killing unless someone isn't completely cowed yet, and I have to kill him as an example to keep the others in line.
Yeah.
And 2, killing children is bad, but I have bigger fish to fry than worrying about the questioner's overzealousness. Oh well. These are not things a good man would think.
Yeah.
He is just as much of a monster as Carradine is. He may not be a dark friend, but he is evil.
Yeah, absolutely. And the arrogance is strong with this one. Like, I get he is a high-ranking White Cloak, so it goes with the territory. However, his reflection on all he knows about the Seanchan is really telling. He assumes that all the stories about the invaders have been overstated because they come from people who are scared and have been beat down. As a military leader, he obviously knows that civilians in this situation can't be relied on to tell the whole truth because what do they know about war? The irony that struck me this time is that the same kind of arrogance is what drives the Aes Sedai to make the same kind of bad assumptions about the information they get.
Yeah.
Common people could not possibly be telling the truth because it does not fall in line with what the White Cloaks and the Aes Sedai believe to be true about the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Arrogance is a great word for it. Jaqen Carradine gets a little confusing in these first few books.
Yeah.
So, just as a refresher, he's having the White Cloaks spinning their wheels on Almouth Plain so that they don't get too close to Tommen Head and the Seanchan.
Right.
He's acting under orders from Ishamon that he got back at the Dark Friend Social. And Bernhard is pissed because there are no real dark friends to root out on the plain. They're just messing around with villagers, and it's a big waste of time.
Yeah.
And in case we forgot what a big piece of crap Buyer is, when Bernhard asks him if the murdered children were dark friends, he says, "The sins of the mother are visited to the 5th generation," Buyer quoted, "and the sins of the father to the 10th. So screw him."
Yeah. Seriously? That's yeah.
The White Cloaks really pissed me off. And it's possible I might be a little keyed up about what's going on in the world today. But
Possibly.
yeah, the White Cloaks really pissed me off in case you can't tell.
Yeah. Joffrey makes a good point to Buyer. And he's basically disobeying orders because the people giving the orders are doing some shady stuff. He's going to take as much of the Legion into Falme as possible to meet these invaders in battle. And he does it because he feels that they are the true Dark Friends. Commandeering the army aside, this is what an officer is supposed to do. Soldiers execute orders, generals make battle plans, but officers are supposed to think critically about a situation and should, in an ideal situation, have the ability to provide feedback up the chain of command about something not being right. I get the feeling Jordan saw a lot of really bad stuff in his soldiering days, and understands that the difference between how an army executes its plans all resides in how the middle management officers lead their troops. It's a difference between saving a village by securing it and protecting the people, and firebombing it to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Both are valid military strategies, theoretically, but vastly different consequences.
Yeah. But that smells a little bit too much like giving Bernhard credit, and I'm not willing to do that.
True.
No credit for you.
I see where you're going there. Fair enough. Got it.
I hate the White Cloaks.
And on that note, Captain Dolman is the perfect palate cleanser after reading about Whitecloaks.
Yeah. Okay, wait, before we talk about Dolman. So, words that all sound the same. All right, we've got Bail Dolman.
Uh-oh.
We've got the people of Arid Dolman, who are the Damani.
Correct.
And then we have Domine, which is the leashed ones that the Seanchan have.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's accurate, but that is how we are going to pronounce it. So just so you know, we are not taking comments or questions about this. Bail Doman, the Damani people, and Domine, the leashed ones.
I think Jordan did that on purpose because he brings up all of them in the same chapter.
I know.
Yeah.
That was just rude.
Yeah.
But anyway, just for clarity's sake, that's how we're doing it. If it's wrong, sorry, not sorry.
Sorry. Well done. We get a lot of exposition here about how this Seanchan work, and a lot of it is really confusing the first time you read. The thing that sticks out to me every time I reread this chapter is how Dolman is reflecting on the tales of how young women were taken away to be examined, as well as older women who were healers.
Yeah, if you don't know what's going on, that is freaking creepy.
Yeah, like what are they doing with them?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. Knowing what we know now, these women were basically taken as domine and put on ships back to the Empire to live out a life of slavery. This is something that we will have to live with through the whole series, and it's one of the main reasons I find Seanchan culture unredeemable as a whole.
Yeah.
They're not dark friends. They're just a culture built on multiple kinds of slavery. And as a white American man, I feel compelled to call it for what it is because it's not okay that the Seanchan are blasé about it. To say nothing is to condone. And we will get into this more in the future episodes.
Actually, that pretty much sums up this chapter. None of these people are dark friends. They do not serve the Dark One, and they are all convinced of their rightness.
Yep.
But they are all carrying out evil, either directly or indirectly.
Yep.
And even when they may have second thoughts or questions, they stay silent and condone everything that's going on around them, which makes them complicit in these atrocities.
Yes, it does. Which is horrible.
And a lesson we should all be paying attention to.
The description of how the Seanchan pacify the people they occupy, it reminds me very much of how Rome conquered much of the world in so little time.
Yeah,
Like superior weapons and technology in their army overwhelmed the military defending the town. The Romans pick high-ranking families to become the new local leaders who report to the Roman governor. And as long as the people pay their taxes and don't rebel, Rome won't destroy them. It works if you have the might to back it up, especially the or else part of the deal. And the Seanchan definitely do. We later find out that the Seanchan army has never encountered a defeat before. Battles, maybe, but never a campaign. They don't have to worry about the people that they have conquered. The Domine are unstoppable.
yeah. We will have plenty of time to talk about Domine and that whole mess in later chapters, so I don't even want to get into that right now.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to go there. All you need to know is colors and leashes, slavery and dehumanization, all kinds of nope.
Yeah, absolutely. Dolman tries to talk to the guy left on his ship to learn anything he can as first-hand information from an actual Seanchan. When he asks about the Domine, the guy puts a sword to his throat and advises him not to talk about things that are the business of the blood. The fervor and dedication that these people are adhering to is crazy. I mean, we see this all the time in religious cults, so it's by no means a shock to me that some people will behave this way. But the fact that the whole culture is this way is just really unsettling. The Ale are a little crazy too, but that crazy is born out of shame and a sense of failure as a people. This is 100% driven by privilege and superiority, and it just rubs me the wrong way. So I will give this Seanchan one thing that I find really cool. Creatures. These people have tamed creatures from other dimensions and done it well. We will see that they fly on them later, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, the exotics are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Turok has another seal to the Dark One's prison, which makes 3 out of the 7. There's the broken one that they found in the Eye of the World, and then these two.
Right.
Keeping track of the seals gets a little dicey as the series goes on, like trying to remember who discovered what and when.
Right.
Especially when they start changing hands.
Because they do.
Yeah.
It's juggling.
Yeah. So 3 found, 4 still undiscovered.
And it was kind of ballsy for Doman to try to pass off the disc as a gift from himself.
Yeah.
After it was presented from Eganon. But I think it was partly why Turok keeps him around. Turok is obviously bored, and watching Doman spin tails trying to stay alive may prove entertaining. I mean, who can blame him?
Yeah. This chapter makes me tired.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, so calf.
Ah.
Turok says that the aroma is almost as enjoyable as the flavor. Obviously, this is coffee, but I would like to argue that this is most likely akin to Turkish coffee.
Yeah, huh?
For those of you who haven't had Turkish coffee, it's stronger and darker than what we get here in America. It's a lovely experience, and every time the characters talk about calf, it's all I can think about.
Right? Yeah.
Really, really good.
And that ends chapters 28 and 29 of The Great Hunt. Join us next week for chapters 30 and 31, where Ingtar finally gets to Korean. But is he too late?
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you could leave us a positive review, it would really help us out. It makes us more visible so more people can find us. You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts about anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.